In this video, we're going to talk about creating a repeating table inside InfoPath, or not InfoPath, creating InfoPath repeating table inside Power Apps. Okay, so we're starting out on our SharePoint site. First thing you're going to do is you got to create two lists. Okay, it's not necessarily a way of doing it, but you can do it this way. You can do it with one list, but it's a little harder to show you what I want to show you. So what I did is I got one list already created that I used for the data that I'm going to use. You're going to use the ID from this first list to group all your items in the second list. Okay, so my first list I'm going to use is actually, let's see where it is here. I think I used the issue tracker, okay, that I used in my last video. It's a simple it's just a simple list that I just threw together with some dummy data, just so you have some columns to use. As you see, there's not that many columns here. I only added one column. Now it's the date completed. Okay, that's the first list we're going to pull in, and we're just going to use it to get to the second list. Okay, now the second list we're going to use, I created, was called repeating tables. Repeating table items. Okay, I added a few things, but as you can see, the item ID is tied to the ID of the first thing. So like if you wanted to group these by ID, you'll show that these items are going to go with that item, and the item ID equals 1 on the first list. Only these are going to show up, so on and so forth. Okay, it's a lot easier to explain when we actually get in Power Apps and you can see it. Alright, so without further ado, we're going to go into Power Apps. Okay, so we're going to open up our app launcher and we're going to go to Power Apps. Just like on my other videos, this is going to be a Canvas app, and I've already created it. I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's done, and then we're going to build it. Okay, so go down here. It's called repeating tables. Okay, so we're going to edit this. And I'm just going to play it from within so you can see what it looks like. Alright. Essentially, you need two lists and you have two screens. Okay. Now, you don't have to use two screens. You can use one screen and use a container as the second screen. But either way, you want to have two. You want to have some navigation set up. Alright, so as you can see, I got two screens here. And when you open up the apps, I got my two apps here. Okay, or two lists, I'm sorry. Now, when we play this, you got these are all my items in my first list. And what you're going to do is when you click on one of these, it's going to move you to the second screen, and it's going to grab this ID from the item you selected so it knows which one you got. So like, for instance, if I click, now ID 1 I know had some stuff in it, right? So you click this. Oh, that's ID 5, I'm sorry. The group ID is the main ID. Okay, so forgot I was playing it. Let's go back to the first screen. I'm going to add a column in here real quick into my one that's supposed to be working, so I can figure out which ID is which. Okay, so edit. We're going to go, oops, insert, text label. Let's put it at the end here so I don't have to move anything. And we're going to change this to ID. There we go. That was ID 1. Huh. Interesting. Alright. So, we're going to play this again. Open this one up. I don't know. Well, just to show you how this works, we're just going to throw some stuff in here. Oops. Gotta use numbers, I guess. Okay, you'll see it. This takes times this, goes to this, and that gives you a total down here. Alright, so we're going to add sync this one. All right, so we know ID5 has these two things, right? So if we go back to the first screen, I didn't put no navigation, that's why I have to do it this way. So we know, if we go to ID5, it shows these two items. And if we go to this item, so he's got two different items in here, okay? So you're basically creating like a folder and subfolder structure in the Power App, so the user doesn't see it, okay? So that's what we're going to build. All right, so let's go back into the edit side of Power Apps, and we're going to create two new screens, okay? As you know, I'm going to use the same exact data, okay? So first thing you're going to do is add your data sources right through here, which I've already done. And then first thing you do is you're going to create a new screen. It doesn't have to be anything special. It can be blank. It can be, you can use whatever template you want. Okay. I like the landscape template because you got more real estate to play with. Okay. On the first screen, we're going to do is we're going to put a gallery in here. You're going to have a gallery on both screens. Okay. Galleries are just views, right? So we're going to go insert, layout, flexible height. I really like flexible heights, that's why I always use them. Okay, and we're going to come out here and we're going to make it the whole width. Now you can put a header row up there, but we're not going to. I don't honestly care what the headers are. You probably want to do that if you make your app, because if you're in production, you want to be able to identify what everything is. So next thing you do is you're going to join it to the primary list, which is issue tracker, and then you're going to drop in labels. Okay, so we'll go text label, and I'm going to put in probably like 5 of them. Now you just want to put enough in where you can identify the item you're looking for, right? So I'm going to move these over. Okay, the title one is typically going to be pretty long. And then we'll go over here. The rest of these are pretty easy to just put them kind of equidistant apart. So this one's right, you know, we want the title there. We're going to go do status dot value. I know it's a drop down. And then, oops, I can't spell today. Date reported. Okay, that's already text, so it's good. We'll go date. We'll go logs. Wait, another player. Assign to dot display name. Now, since we're using a person from a people picker, I'm going to, there's a picture that goes along with that profile, right? So I'm going to insert a image so that way I can, we have a face to go with the name, right? So I'm going to put it right in front. And you add it the same way you do a text by label. So you go assigned to dot picture. Boom. Now we got everybody's picture that belongs to this name. And then we'll do log by dot display name. Alright, so we got our, now that field's not filled in, but it's there. Okay. Actually, we'll go day completed. And it's blank too. Okay, whatever. Alright, so now we're going to set the height. So we'll go here. We've got to find out what this is. So you can rename these or you can leave them the same. It doesn't matter. So for what I'm doing here, it doesn't, I'm not going to rename them. But it is a good business practice to do that. Okay, so we're going to go to template height. because this only works with the vertical blank vertical height gallery. Okay, so you're going to select the whole row. You're going to come down to template size, and you're going to put that label in there, dot height. Now you can set it, or if your stuff's kind of close together, you can always add plus 10 or something like that, just to give a little extra spacing if you want to. It's up to you. But there's our gallery. Okay, now we need to go into the first row and set the on select. Okay, because we want to click. I want to be able to click anywhere in this row and have it go to the other screen, right? So what I'm going to do, I'll rename those so I can keep them separate. Main screen. Screen. Main. Okay, I got the other one called main, so I can call it screen main. Alright. Now before we do the unselect, we have to create the other screen, right? So we're going to minimize this. Create another screen. And we'll call this table. Okay. Now we just need the table made, or we just need the screen made to set the on select. So let's go back to the first one. We're going to go in here and select the whole row. Then we're going to go to the on select. It's a little rough, I don't know. There it is. And we're just basically going to navigate to their screen. Because we're selecting something, that whole record is going to have, it's going to be in it's going to be set up in the gallery already, so you don't have to worry about that. So you don't have to use select parent, okay? Because we're not going to do it that way. We're not sending it to the other screen, we're just going to pull it from the gallery. Alright, so we'll go navigate, CR, that should be close enough. Alright, and if you want to put a transition, you can. I use cover right. I like cover right, it's kind of cool. Gives a little animation to it. Boom. Okay. So if you select anything on here, it's going to navigate. All you got to do is going to navigate to this other screen. Alright, so now you can add some extra functionality into this if you want, and you can actually use this gallery to add stuff to the thing, but we're not going to talk about that in here. But you can. You put a little plus symbol up here and then have it do a patch and make a form that goes with it, and you can send it to whatever to the list that you want. Okay. Now, but my focus is this screen. Okay, this screen is where it's going to have where all action is going to happen. Okay, that first screen is just to get you here. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to insert another flexible height gallery. Move it down to the bottom, open it up, be a little bigger, we'll go right here. Now this one, I'm even going to do a header row because you need to know what each thing means, because you don't know what it is. Okay, so before we put our fields in here, we're going to put our header row. So you got to click out of the gallery, go insert, text label. Okay, and then I'm going to start it here, go about right here. And then you want to set up the first one and just copy and paste it. Okay, so I'm going to make this one 20. We're going to make it bold. We're going to center it. We'll make the background color black, and then we'll make the border color white. Okay, make it stand out. Okay. Now, copy and paste this. Once I select my rows, then I'll fill in the text boxes. Okay. I think there's 5 or 6. I don't know. We'll go from here. Alright. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in my second data source, right? So I'm going to use repeating table items. Alright. Now, right now, if I put these kings in here, it's going to display all items on the list, period. There's no filtering going on. we're going to filter this, okay? That's when our gallery, that ID from the gallery is going to come into play. All right, but let's put our fields in first, and then we'll set up this. That way you can actually see what's going on here. All right, so we're going to insert. Now, since this gallery is going to be like a data sheet, we're not using labels. We're going to use text inputs, okay? So you come here, text input. Okay. Now, all I'm going to give you text inputs, but the last one, okay? The total. Anytime you do a calculation, you can do it as a text input, but we don't want them changing it manually, so we're going to do it in the label instead, okay? So I'm going to make this a little smaller. We don't need something quite that big. And I'm going to copy it 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Okay. So first one we're going to put right here. Now, the first one is going to be the description of the item. So we're going to make this a little bigger. This is going to be our NSN value. This one's going to be our quantity. This one's going to be our unit price. But because it's a text input, I'm going to put a label right here in front of it with a $sign in it, so it looks like a $sign, because when you're inputting this, you won't be able to tell. And then this one is going to be, let's see, $sign, quantity, unit price. I'm missing a column, I'm not sure which one I'm missing. Item name. Oh, I forgot the group ID. Alright. Oh, there's only 4. Okay. See, that's why I do that. I keep them, because I want to make sure I'm getting the right thing here. Alright, so I'm going to move all these over a little. We don't need a lot of space for the ID. I'm going to insert a label. Oops. Insert a label in here. Small. Look, it actually pulled ID, didn't it? Now the ID that's going to be in here is your group ID, and it's actually going to be that value from the first table, but I use the title field for it. It's not the item ID in the list. You can add that too if you really want to, but it doesn't really do anything to help you. Okay. So this one, we're going to use this item dot name of ordered item. That's what I called it. Okay. This one is this item dot SN. This one's going to be this item dot QTY. This one, I think I made it. Yeah, this is extra. I'm going to delete that. This one's going to be unit price. And then we're going to put a label here for total price. Now we're leaving a little space at the end because that's going to be our buttons to do whatever our saving function we're doing. Okay. So this will be total price. All right. Now inside the list, I'm actually going to set this up so that way it puts a $sign in the calculation with it, so everything will look right. All right. So now it was giving me a $sign on here during the initial thing, but you know what? I ain't gonna worry about the $sign thing. Alright, so we got our thing set up here. Alright, so now we're going to set up our header row. Okay, now this first one, you're going to shorten it way. You know what? I'm going to make it that big. I'm just going to shrink this up a little. We don't need all that space. Alright, so this is going to be group ID. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a little smaller so you can see it. So group ID, make let's see. You read it? Okay, yeah, it looks fine. Alright, so we're going to come back here at this one and make it the same width as the text input. And this is going to be item name. Now these names have nothing to do with these, okay? So this is just to let the user know, you know, what each one of these columns signify. Okay, so we're going to come back here with this. This one is our NSN. I know there's supposed to be numbers in there, I just threw some stuff in there. Just to simplify it. Okay. Oh, too far. Alright, this one is our quantity. So QTY. Okay, it fits. This one is our unit price. Okay, fine. I'll just recreate it. So this will be our total price. Whoops. Alright, so now we're going to create some buttons over here. So I'm going to create one more of the headers, so it tells your person who's actually filling in the form. We'll call it actions. Okay, so now when someone looks at this, you know, they know exactly what's going across here. All right, and like I said in the beginning, it's displaying all items because we're not filtering yet, right? So we're going to set our height, and then we're going to make it pull in the way it's supposed to. So this one's probably going to be the most populated cell in here, so I'm going to make this trigger the height. Okay, you can only use one cell. I mean, I guess you could use more than one, but this is what I'm going to do. Alright, so this one's called text input 1, so we'll use that name. Rename your stuff. Don't leave it the default because it looks stupid like that. Alright, so we're going to come down to template size. Just like in the first gallery, we're going to put the name dot height. That way, it's one on top of each other. Alright, so our gallery set up, now we got to filter it, right? So we're going to come back in here, we're going to go to items, and we're going to filter this thing. Okay, so go to the beginning, type the word filter, repeating items is still the data source. We're going to say when title, remember title is where our ID is stored, right, from the first list, equals gallery 2. See, gallery 2 is the one on our main screen right here. See, gallery 2 dot selected dot ID. Okay, do that. Boom. Okay, so you see what happened is, since 1, the group ID of 1 is selected, only ones are showing now. So if we go back into the main screen and we select something different, see, the number changed, but they're all the same. That's how we know we're grabbing the right one. Okay, so the filtering is working now. Now what we got to do is we got to set up a way of adding items, saving items, and deleting items. Okay, we don't want to do we want to do everything within the form. We don't want to do it. Okay, now I'm going to grab a totally random one that I know I haven't selected before, so we have a blank screen. Okay, now when you run the form, it's going to look like this. There's nothing here, right? But when you're editing, you've got to have something to work with. That's why it puts the first row in. Okay, so we're going to add 2 icons at the top, which are outside the gallery, which is going to control the gallery itself. And then we're going to put 3 icons inside the gallery to give you some actions. Okay. Now, obviously, if we don't have nothing showing, we can't do anything. Okay, so we got to get that initial item created. Okay, so we're going to click outside the gallery. And we're going to go down to the icons. Okay, and I just grabbed the add button. The add button is fairly close to the top. We don't want it that big, obviously. So I'm going to make the width like 40 and the height 40. Okay, makes it a little more manageable. Okay, there's one. I copy and paste it, and I go here. Now, of course, we're not going to use the 2 of the same icon, but you can come over here, and it's a lot easier to find the stuff through here than it is through the menu. Okay, what I'm going to do is the second button is going to, it's going to be a sync button, but we're going to use it to refresh the data source. Okay. So like if you add something and it doesn't show up right away, you can hit sync and it'll re-pull the data into the gallery and show the appropriate information. Okay, so you go sync here. Okay, and then we're going to add, I'm going to copy this again. Now I'm going to go inside the gallery to the first line, and I'm going to add another icon here. Here, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to reassign the icon to something else. Okay, this one is going to be another sync button, but it's going to mean something different. Okay, I'll show you here in a minute. And then this last one is going to be for deleting the item without deleting all the items. Okay. Alright, so it's starting to come together. Alright, now, so we want to create a new item in this gallery, right? Which means we need to create a new item using the ID from the gallery 2 selected. Okay, so on select, we're going to say patch. Our patch command writes to SharePoint, right? Now you're going to say repeating table items, comma. Since we're creating a new item, we're going to use defaults, and then repeat table items, close it, comma, and then now we're creating our record, right? Since we're using records, we got to use our curly braces, and we're only adding one thing. We're going to add a value to title, and we're going to use gallery 2 dot selected. Remember, you got to select something in order to even get to the screen. So you're going to have something selected there. Okay, so we're basically taking that ID and writing it to the title field of the repeating table items list. Okay, now the reason you use defaults repeating table items on the new item, because there's no ID, there's no way to identify the record, right? Because you're creating a new record, it doesn't exist yet. So that's the command you use. Okay, now for the refresh button, all you have to do is go into your items thing here, copy the whole command, click on your sync button or your refresh button, whatever you're going to call it, and you're going to literally type refresh and then paste in your command and then close it. And that's literally all you do. Okay, now you're going to get a delegation warning error here. Okay, why is it saying in capital text and number? Okay, now sometimes this happens. It depends on what you're doing. Like this worked fine for the gallery, but it won't work outside the gallery. Okay, so what you got to do is you're gonna type, you type the word value in front of anything, it's going to tell it to convert it to a number. So now you got a number going to a number. Okay. Now it's giving me delegation. Okay. I saw the delegation warning here, so that's why it's doing that. Okay. Now it will work. Okay. Now we're going to set up these 3 icons. Okay. This plus works exactly like this, but there's an additional step it has to do. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to the plus and we're going to grab this command so we don't have to retype it again. Okay. But that's step 2 of this command. We got to save the current record first before it creates a new one. Oh, I forgot one thing. You don't want people using this after the first record's created. Okay. So what you do is you're going to go to your visible property, because we want it to disappear. We don't want them to even be able to click on it. Okay. Change this from true to, we're going to count how many rows are in this gallery view by that one ID, and if it greater than 0, we want that button to disappear. Okay. So you're going to go count rows. We're going to put our filter command here. Oh, that's not my filter command, that's my other, whoops. Alright, so let's go back to here. We want this command. And we want to go back to this one. Paste. Close it, because that's our data source, right? Great. Equals 0. Okay, the only time I want that there is when there's nothing being counted. It can't find a single item. Okay, so if I go open up something that has stuff in there, that plus sign is going to disappear. We don't want the sync button to go away ever, because all that does is refresh this. It doesn't change anything. Okay, so that's why that's there, and we'll test it to make sure it works when we go to start adding stuff. Okay, so go down here. Well, we need to re-grab my on select here. Probably should have copied it first. Alright, so we're going to go into our plus command. I'm going to open this up because we're going to need to see some stuff here. Okay. Now, okay, we'll put that in there, but I want to use that last. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to, since when we're hitting add, that means we just filled out an item, right? So we need to save that item first before we create a new one. It doesn't matter what order you do this in, but both operations have to happen in this step. Okay, so you're going to go patch. We're going to do our data source is going to be repeating items. Okay, comma. Now, since we're working on inside the gallery, we can use this item as our record. Okay, so we're going to type this item, like a spell. Okay, now since we're using a record, we're going to use the curly braces. Now, I'm going to format this a little so it's a little easier to see, because we put it in one long row, it's hard to read. Okay, now like the second command where it has the default repeating table type items, there's only one field being populated, so I left it like that. But if you have a lot of items inside your command, you're going to want to format it so it's easier for you to read, or the next person that comes along. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, now title's already written, right? So we don't have to write the title because it's already there. So we're going to go to the next thing. So it'll be the name of the item, right? Name of ordered item. Okay, now this is where renaming helps. You don't have to guess. So we go here. Now it's called text input 1. Okay, so come up here. Go back into the plus. Text input 1. Dot text. You got to put the type of data it is. Okay. and then a comma. Next thing is NSN. You always got to put a colon because you're inside of a record, okay? Now, NSN, now they're all going to be one something. Text to put 1. So that's 4, that's 3, and that's 2. Okay, so for NSN, it's going to be text input 4 dot text, comma. And then the next one is going to be quantity text input 13 dot text. It's just because the order I made them in. Normally I put them in order across the thing, but since I grabbed the last one first, that's why they're backwards. Okay. And then the next one is unit price. So we'll go unit price. I did forget to put the calculation on total price, so we'll have to do that here before we continue. I'll finish out this command and then we'll go over there and do the total price. Alright, so this is going to be text input 2 dot text, comma, and total price. And that's a label. Okay, so let's see what the label's called. It's called label 14. So it's going to be label 14 dot text. Okay. Now, since we're doing the formatting thing, I'm going to go here. I'm going to close my curly brace first, and then I'm going to close my command. Okay, and you just see all the red squigglies went away. Now, the red squiggles going to patch. That's because we didn't put a separator in it, which is a semicolon, and that will clear up your whole command. Okay, and you notice all the red X's go away. Now, I told you we're going to go back to before we do these two, we're going to actually do unit price. Okay, total price. So go here. Now, right now it's targeting SharePoint. Okay. What you're going to do is you're going to, it doesn't matter if it's in SharePoint, to be honest with you. Okay. It's going to, regardless, as long as you got two things here, it's going to give you a total price. Okay. So I don't need this at all. Okay. It's just there because I threw it in there. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a calculation, but we're going to put a condition in front of it though. So that way it doesn't populate 0. Okay. We want it to say blank. So I'm going to say if, right, what are my two labels? Okay. I'm multiplying these two things together. So I'm going to go, it's 1, 3 and 1, 2. Okay. So you're going to say if exclamation is blank. So basically we're saying, what's that? We're doing the not is blank, which basically means it has to be filled in. Text input 1, 3 and is blank. Text input 1, 2. So you see what it did? It's highlighting the boxes I'm dealing with, right? It's basically saying if that is not blank and this is not blank, then we're going to run the command. Otherwise, it doesn't run the command at all. Okay. I'm going to go. I want to put a $sign up front, put a couple spaces, and do our calculation. So now we're going to grab the first one, paste it in there, dot text. Now, since we're doing math, you want to put value up front so it converts it into a number value. Because when it's in that text input, it's a text value. We're going to go times value 1_2 dot text. And it's going to give me my value. All right. So we're not done though, because we got to close our if statement out. Okay. and the ugly word X goes away. Okay, so basically if these two are empty, if either one of these are empty, it's not going to do anything. But if you put something in here, it will do a total there. Okay, now let's finish out our icons and we will go from there. Now see how it's kind of cutting off this symbol right here? I'm going to go 38. It didn't do nothing. I just noticed they're different. So let's go 35. 35. Still looks like it's cutting it off. Oh well. Alright, so basically we got to wrote the command for this. Okay? This means save the current item and make another one. This one means just save the current item. And this deletes the current item. Okay, so what we got to do is go back to our plus, and we're going to grab the first command only. You don't need the semicolon because we're only doing one command inside here. But you need to grab everything else, and you're going to come in here, paste it. Of course, it's not going to give you any errors because the last one worked. Okay, and then the last one is the easiest. Okay, we're removing. So you're just going to go remove data source, which is your list, right? Now, if you're using a collection, you can put the collection name in here. It doesn't matter. It's whatever you're using the data. Whatever the data source of the gallery is, that's your data source for this. Okay? And then you're going to go this item, and you're going to close it. Okay? And all our icons are done. Now we can test this. Okay? So let's bring this back up. We're going to go back to our first screen. We're going to run this, and I'm going to grab some random one. We'll do this one. Okay, as you can see, no items appear. Okay, it happens. If there's nothing with the group ID in there, it's going to be blank. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit our plus symbol. Now, as you can see, it created an item, and the plus symbol disappeared. Now, you can click this all day you want. It's not there anymore. It's invisible. It cannot be clicked. Okay. Now, you can click this all day long, and it'll just keep refreshing the gallery. Okay. So let's add an item. Let's go item 1. And let's put a bunch of numbers in here. Now, notice, remember this right here does not populate until you fill in these two boxes. So we'll go, see, still nothing, because the other one's blank. As soon as I put a value in here, it calculates. Okay? Now, we're going to test this. Okay, you get the plus symbol. Okay, once it writes this to SharePoint, it will save. If you hit the plus symbol and these all blank out, that creates the new item. That means you got something wrong with your first command. Okay, you might have forgot a data type somewhere. You know, that dot, whatever the property after the control name. That's usually what causes it, and you'll get an error saying it won't patch. Okay, if it just creates another item, then you're good. Okay, so let's create another item. Let's go item 2. Some numbers. Now you can put a disable rule on these. Like if all these don't get filled out, you can make these disable until everything's filled in. You know, it's however you want to do it. I'm just trying to keep it simple. Okay. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to test our save the current item only, right? We don't want to create another item. We just want to save this one. So you get save. Now, there's no indication that it's saved. Okay. You can do some conditional formatting in here if you really wanted to. And you can have it pull from this gallery and see if the ID's in there or not. If it creates an ID, then it's been saved. You know, you can do something like that. Like I said, I'm not trying to go super crazy with this. I just want to show you how this works. Now, I'm going to stop here. Okay, we're looking for item number 15, right? We're going to go back to our list in here. So I hit edit data to open up your list. Now, you noticed you group by ID. You look for 15. It's got one item. Oh, probably gotta refresh it. It was only showing one. Oh, I saved it. That's interesting. Oh, I grouped off ID, not item ID. Okay, so let's take that off. Let's do group by item ID. Alright, so see, here's 15. Remember, it reads, SharePoint reads left to right, so it's not going to be in complete order. There's both my items, right, that I just created in that gallery. Okay, so let's go back to our Power App. So we know both these buttons work. Okay, now say I want to get rid of this first item but not the second one. So you click on, let's play our app again. We're going to hit this one. And you notice the second one stayed, but the first one disappeared. Now, if we go back to our list here and refresh the list, you'll notice sometimes it takes a minute for it to update. You'll notice only the second one's there now. The other one's gone, right? Okay. So all our icons work. And you can even do this. Refresh, refresh, refresh. And that's how you make a repeating table in InfoPath. Now, or InfoPath, in Power Apps. Now, you don't need to create a second list, okay? You could do that here. Like if you have a list and you just want to add items to it, that's how you do it. You just do that same theory, the same theoretical thing we just did, and you add to it. And that's how you do it. You got any questions or issues or comments or whatever, put them in the comments below and I will reply to you directly. Have a good day.